Flosstube. My name is Tanya, the Starlit Stitcher. This is my first Flosstube. I've never filmed anything for YouTube before, so here I am giving it a try, and we're just gonna wing it. I'm not gonna be doing any editing, so what you see is what you get. If I say something the wrong way or I forget to say something, I'll be putting that in the next video. So moving on, a little bit about myself. I live in Arkansas with my husband. I have 2 girls and a boy. One of my girls lives with her dad over in California. She'll be coming to visit us for Christmas, and so we're really excited to be getting to have her here with us again for that. Yeah! I hope everybody had a really good Thanksgiving last week. Ours was super fun. We didn't get together for Thanksgiving last year with everything going on, but we had a more than made up for it last week. It's kind of hard to explain how you might miss something until you experience it again, you know, but that was great. We went to a Christmas parade on Monday night. Again, lots of fun. Way bigger than what I expected. I thought, like, you know, you go to your town parade and it's like 10-15 minutes. It's probably more like an hour and a half. There were so many floats, so many lights, and people dressed up like Santas, floats with the flags of the world, Merry Christmas, and all the languages of the different world, all the businesses, the tow trucks, our first responders. It was really fun. Also, there was free chocolate and free cookies. Can't forget to leave that part out. So let's move on into the things that I'm doing, the things that I'm planning, and all that good stuff. First of all, let me talk about the things that I finished. Here we go. Okay. I've been working on these for like the last month or 2, trying to get some gifts together for some people for coming up for Christmas. Hopefully they don't watch my channel. I don't think they will, because I don't plan on telling them about it until later. But let's go. Okay, first I did Madame Chantilly. I think that's how you pronounce it. The Santa's Owl and Sheep and the Santa's Fox and Raccoon. Here's the owl and sheep. I'm going to try and hold that up for you. And here is the fox and raccoon. Okay, set those aside there. I did 2 sets. First of all, because I wanted a set for myself. And secondly, because I've never made ornaments before in my entire life. So I wanted to make sure that I had a backup, because if I messed them up, then I wanted to make sure I had another one to not mess up and give to the person that they were intended for. So yeah. Okay, so these were stitched on an 18 count Jazz Ada, and that is by Picture This Plus. I used all of the call for colors, and one set I stitched with 2 over 1, 2 threads over 1, and the other set I stitched 1 over 1. I think that they both came out looking really good, so I'm going to show you those side by side. Okay, so this one is the 2 over 1, and this one is the 1 over 1. None of these are going to look the same, because I did change some of the patterns on like where some of the stitches go, and like mostly a symmetrical thing for me. So I don't know if the pattern was supposed to be the way that it was, but I did change a few things to I don't know, make it so that I just have a thing where it's got to be the same on both sides, and so that's just the way that I did it. And there was a place on one of them where I did do some fudging. I'll show you that when I get to it. Here's how the owl turned out to the 2 over 1. Here's the owl with the 1 over 1. And then here is the fox. 2 over 1 and the 1 over 1. Again, I think that both ways to stitch it came out good. On one of these foxes, I can't remember which one it was. I think it was the 1 over 1. I somehow ended up with an extra line in his tail, so I just kind of fudged around because his tail was like super fat, and then it got super skinny. I was like, something's not quite right with this. And so by the time I figured it out, I had like almost the whole tail done. And so I just ended up adding a couple of stitches to kind of maybe fatten out the base of his tail. So we just, shh, don't tell anybody. We're going to move on to the raccoon. This is how the raccoon came out. Now, in the picture, it's gray. Let me show you that again. He looks gray in the picture on the pattern. See, he looks gray. But he turned out, with the called for colors, brown. He's brown, which is okay. He looks good. It just wasn't what I was expecting, but there we go. Just so, you know, nobody else has any unexpected surprises. Now, how I did these, because like I told you, I never made, excuse me, ornaments before, ever, in my whole entire life. I had no idea what I was doing. So I put these together yesterday while my little was over in school, and my husband is at work, so that left me room to, like, clear stuff and have the table not available and not have to worry about trying to get it all done in an hour, because that wasn't going to happen. So first of all, I cut out the pieces of foam board because I'd made one each for the fronts and then also for the backs. These jingle bells, I got them off of Amazon. They're called, let me see, I wrote it here. Excuse me while I check my notes. I'm not an expert here. Let's see here. They were called 1-inch silver craft bells. So they're pretty big, and they have the jingle in them, which is why I got them. They come in a pack of 240 of them. So if you get those, you're going to be set for a while. This ribbon here on the top, as well as this flannel pad. We're not going to say that in public. Sorry. You may hear me say that more than once, but yeah. Moving on. Plaid flannel here in the back. That came from Walmart. These ribbons that was all on the fronts, you know those fat quarter bundles that you buy and they've got the ribbon wrapped around them? I just used those. I saved those and I cut it, and I used half of one for each. So like for a white one, I cut that in half, and that did 2, and then same with the green one, I cut it in half and it did 2, and that's where I got all these ribbons from. This chenille trim, that came from Hobby Lobby, and I just hot glued everything all together. And one thing that I should probably mention is I also took a lighter. I'm playing with matches over here. Took a lighter and I burned all the edges of the ribbons, not so that they actually burn or catch fire or start turning black or anything like that, but just so that they start melting, and that'll keep them from fraying later, I hope. I read that somewhere, so that's what I did. And I also don't know if I was supposed to use hot glue, but I did that too anyways. So yeah. Okay, the next thing that I did yesterday, and I'm actually really happy with how this turned out, because I thought it was going to take me longer to stitch it up than how it did, but it really only actually took me 2 days to stitch up, I think. And I loved this one. This was Seeds of Knowledge by Lizzie Kate. Now, what made this pattern so great, at least for me, is the chart, the blocks on it for your stitches. It's really big, so it was super easy to see, and the symbols were simple. I don't know about anybody else, but for me, like eyesight and super tiny things are really hard for me to see, so that was something that I appreciated in this chart. I didn't use any of the called for colors, so let me show you how it turned out, and I'll let you know what colors that I used for it. It called for Gentle Arts, I believe, which I didn't have any of those colors, and I went to go and order them, and Gentle Arts is still a little bit slow getting their, you know, their stuff back in stock and all of that stuff, and so only like half of them were available at the time. I was like, I'm just going to go through my extras and see what I got and just make it work with what I already have from other threads. But this is how that turned out. Here we go. I think it came out super cute. Now I finished this into a flat fold. I used the instructions from by Kimberly Jolly on the Fat Quarter Shop YouTube channel. I did modify it to have this extra piece on the front, whereas her instructions are just, you know, you have your piece and you do your block and that's what's attached to the whole thing, whereas I mounted it onto another board. But other than that, I followed her instructions on how to do that, and then also did all of this trimming here and around on the top and the sides. I thought that this would be a really cute gift for my daughter's teacher. She's done really well with her. I'm super impressed, and I just want to show her some appreciation. Now let's talk about the colors that I used. Now in the chart, all of these words, Lizzie K used 2 different colors. I just used one. So I went with Classic Colorworks Blacksmith Blue for the words. Okay, the green for the leaves and the apples. That's Classic Colorworks Spinach. Okay, now the apples, the red, that is Classic Colorworks Cupid. The white in the apple there on the end is Classic Colorworks Antique Lace. The apple core, let me hold that up closer so you might see better. That's Classic Colorworks Chocolate Cream Pie. Okay, now the stars, that's Weeks Dye Works Gold. And the stems on the apples, and then this little worm down there, those are Weeks Dye Works Molasses. Excuse me while I do a little tongue tying over here. Let's see, the greens I forgot to mention on the chart. There's 2 different color greens. I only used 1 color green on that as well. And I think that came out pretty well. The chart also calls for using some black Mill Hill beads, which I did buy those, and I went to go and put them on. But since I used a smaller count fabric than what the chart called for, the beads didn't sit right on here. It looked really obviously not correct. So I opted not to use them, and instead I put super tiny little X's down there on the worm's eyes. And in the apple, I just did, I don't know what you want to call them. They're not French knots because I can't do those, and I could not get one to go for my life. So I guess they're like little, I want to call them like mini back stitches or something like that. I did that with the molasses in there, and I just, whenever I did one, I went over it like 3 times to get it to show better. I know that's probably not the best instructions in the world, but that's what I did on this. If you use the called for size fabric, you probably won't have to do anything funky like that. You can probably just use the beads and not even have to worry about it. Let's set that aside. Okay. Now this one was, I did at some point during the summer. I don't remember exactly when. This was one of those pre-stamped kits called Christmas Owls. I got it off of Amazon. And I finished it into a pillow. Here it is. Now I did run out of red when I was getting to the end of the project. So this little stocking here is charted to be red. I just made it blue with silver because I did not have any red left in there. So I was like, whatever, nobody's gonna know, except now I told you. It also charted for backstitch. I decided to not do any of that, and I think it looks fine without it. If you like stuff with backstitch, then you could go ahead and put it on there. I did still do, like here on this guy, I did like the tree on the star on the top of the tree, as well as the ornaments in the stocking. But for the most part, I just said no on the backstitch. This was the, let's see here. I haven't made a pillow like this before, so I was just kind of winging it on this. It's stuffed with, I think, a 14 by 20 inch size pillow from Walmart. It is a bit really fat, so I maybe could have made the case a little bit bigger than it is, but it looks okay. And then this jingling that you hear, it's those same jingle bells. And while I was putting this together, I wasn't really sure exactly how I was going to get the bells on there. I just knew that it wanted to have them. And ultimately what I ended up doing is I just stuffed them into the corners and the pillow holds them in there. They don't go anywhere because it's so fat, like really fat in there. These fabrics on the top and the bottom, and also these two on the back, those all came from Walmart. And I did this, Kimberly Jolly on Fat Quarter Shop, she did a finishing tutorial on making a pillowcase thingy with your cross stitch. I just followed that. That seemed the easiest, and that way I could, you know, stick a thing in there and stuff something in there and call it good, instead of trying to figure out how to, you know, sew almost all the way around it and then stuff it with your whatever stuff and then sew it back shut and then hope that you can cover it well enough with other stuff, which, yeah, I'm not an expert with that stuff yet. So we just kind of winged it. I mean, I'm still working on getting better with my sewing machine. If you look down here really close, you can see where, you might not be able to actually see it because I did use my sewing machine with white thread, but there's a stitch line on the Ada because I did some kind of backing on it. I don't remember what I did. I think it was just like an extra piece of fabric or something, just to have something in between my stitching and the pillow inside there. But anyhow, my stitches from that before I stitched these other pieces of fabric on there, and those seams did not line up with each other when I went to go and put it together. So it's not perfect, but we're learning, I think, you know, and it's fun. So here we go. That's the biggest thing, is if you never do something, you're never going to learn how to do it, and you're never going to learn how to get better at it either. So we just do it and hope for the best and go, all right, we're doing it. Okay. All right, now this one, oh my goodness. Have you ever done something on one of your cross stitch patterns that you're like, why, for the love of God, did I pick this? I just want it to be over. This is torturous. I don't like it. And then when you finally get it done, you're like, oh my God, that looks so good. I'm so glad that I did it. But I'm so glad that it's over. Yeah, that was this project right here for me. This was a Dimensions kit, and it's called Wise Owl. I'm going to try and hold this so that it minimizes the glare. I think this came out really good. I made this also as a Christmas gift from my husband's granny. She's going to really, she loves owls. So I'm super glad that I did this. It came out so good, I think. Like, with Dimensions kits, they have like a lot of blends. They have a lot of backstitch. All the things that some of us really don't like. That's me. I don't like it. But I do it anyway. But look at that. I showed it to my daughter when I finished it. She was like, that looks like a real owl. Okay. The frame. I got this at Hobby Lobby. It was not in the frame section. It came out of their wall decor section. What it had before was a picture of a steer, maybe some other cows and stuff in there. I took that out and put this in. But the wall decor was 50% off at the time that I bought this. The frames, they're like, you know, your regular picture frames, those were not. So guess what I bought? I bought what was on sale. And so I took my piece, the owl, and I put it on some acid-free foam board. It's not perfectly straight in there, but it's good enough. Like if you're looking at it right now, right now, you're not going to tell that it's not perfectly straight in there. So whatever, just going. As for the back, it did have, you know, those diagonal thingies on the back that if you're just going to set your picture on a table and you prop it up or whatever. I took that off because this is going to be going up on her wall, and I didn't want extra bulk, and also because I have the foam board in there, that created extra bulk. So let me show you how I dealt with that, because you know, you've got the glass. If you don't put your glass in the frames, you probably don't have this problem of, you know, see how it like sticks out? It's kind of fat back there. Yeah, it doesn't exactly go back together the way it was before you put your piece in there. Go ahead and hold it this way. So, these, I use these. I don't think this is the container that these originally came in. It might have came in something weird like a bag or something at first when I first got them. But let me take one out so I can show you what it looks like. I use these on the backs of the framed pieces where it's, you know, not everything is sitting back in there. And you can't use the original things that held the backboard thing in your frame because it's just too fat. It won't fit. But they look like this. You see how it's got that little shelf kind of thingy here? But you stick them on there, and that gives room for your fattened piece. I know I have all kinds of technical terms here, but your piece goes in there, and so it's doing kind of like it's doing this. You're putting it on there like this, or rather, excuse me, wrong way. You want the hole to go on your frame because that's where it's being screwed in at, and it's going to be like that. And you put however many that you need all around the edges, and that's what holds your thing in. Now, me being the way that I am, you could just, you know, leave it that way, but that would kind of bug me, especially since it's going to be a gift for somebody. So after all of that was done, so it looks kind of, you know, your foam board sticking out, you got your original backboard for the frame is all sticking out everywhere, and I just covered it with brown paper. You know, the kind that you do shipping with and stuff like that. It's just that. Maybe you're not supposed to use that, and maybe you're not supposed to use tacky glue to attach it to your frame, but I did both of those things. Anyways, I don't know if you're supposed to do that or not, but I did. Another thing that I wanted to talk about while I had that piece out was these Clover water soluble markers, pens rather. I don't use these for everything. I mostly just use them for kits that come with the fabric already. I grit it out because the way that I used to do those is I used to take the fabric and start in the middle, because with most kits they hardly give you like barely any extra cloth. So if you accidentally start in the wrong spot, that can lead to not good things. Ask me how I know. So I started using these. The good news about them, it does take forever. Sorry, that's a bad news thing. Let me start with the bad news. It does take forever to grid, depending on the size of your project. Like some of them is like 4x6 or 5x7. That's not too bad. That one probably took me maybe like that's an 11x14. It took me maybe like an hour to grid it, but it does help me a lot on like my counting and making sure that things are in, like I could find my mistakes a lot sooner after I made them than if I don't grid. And it also allows me to start in the upper left hand corner and just work my way either down or across, or it just kind of depends on the design what way that I do it. But I do like to start in the upper left hand corner, and that helps me to do that and know that I'm in the right spot and not have to worry about running out of fabric. And It washes out when you're done with your project, just exactly like the way that it says it does. It comes right out with the water. I've never had a problem with that. The bad part is they only last, like, depending on your project size, like 2 or 3 projects. So that's something to think about too. Also, I would not recommend using these on any kind of hand-dyed fabric or anything that you're using hand-dyed or over-dyed flosses with either, because obviously to take it off, you're washing your project. So don't use this if you're using not color safe stuff. But otherwise, if you're not washing it, or if it's not hand dyed, if you're just using DMC, go for it. Super easy. Moving on to something else. Okay. Tried to be organized, but you know how that goes. You can organize all you want, but it never goes the way that you exactly plan. Oh, I still have some more finishes. I thought I was moving on to my whip pile. I'm really organized, can you tell? Okay, oh, I've really liked this one. This is Easter Notes by Shepherd's Bush. Here is the pattern. Easter Notes by Shepherd's Bush. And this is how it came out. I turned it into a little pillow. I used all the called for colors. I couldn't find the button pack that goes to this, and so I ended up using, let's see here, I put it on my notes here. You can tell here what I did. Let's see here. Okay. I used the Spring Notes button pack instead. It had the sheep and like these little hearts and stuff. The pattern has you put like little flower buttons. Well, this one got hearts, so we went with it. And then I just bought the little Easter egg separate. I think it's a little bit bigger than the one that was intended to go on this, but I put that anyway. The fabric that it's stitched on is a 32 count lamb's wool jobelin by Witchell. It's 1 thread over 2. If I was to do this again on the same fabric, I think I would go 2 over 2, because this is kind of like a looser weave on the fabric. But with a tighter weave fabric, I think that the colors would, I don't know, I think it would turn out better with either a tighter weave or 2 threads over 2. But this is okay right here. It's really dainty. Really dainty. Now, I did the same pillowcase thing as I did on the Christmas owls here in the back, except for this one there's not a pillow in there. I did a little bean bag that I filled the bean bag with lizard litter. I forgot who was talking about that, but it makes your little double pillows a little heftier so they sit better on your displays. So I decided to go with that for this, but I didn't want the lizard litter next to my stitches. There is a backing fabric in there of just, I don't remember what I used, just a random piece of something in there in the back, and then the beanbag is in there. All these little fabrics on there, those came out of a little fat quarter bundle thingy that I picked up at Walmart. Okay, next on the things that I finished this year is One Nation by ByGone Stitches. I loved this one so much. Like, I loved it so much that I'm going to do it again for 2022. I liked it that much. But let me show you how this turned out. I used the called for colors, and it's on a 32 count Vintage Country Mocha Lugana. I don't have it fully finished yet. It's just finished, so it's taking me a little bit to get that out. Let me show this to you. I can't see what I'm doing, so I hope that you can see this all right. But that came out so awesome. I think I love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Now, when I go to do it next year, I'm going to use a completely different fabric. I'm also using completely different colors too. I mean, they're still red, white, and blue, but they're not these. I'm going to be doing it out of DMC on the next time that I do this. I'm really excited to show you guys whenever I make my video for the 2022 plans. That's not going to be this video because we're already sitting at like half an hour already and I've barely started. So that will be at the beginning of January when I talk about that. But oh my gosh, if you're a patriot, go get this pattern like today. Yeah. So let me get this folded back up. Stuff that I finished but haven't fully finished yet. We're living in a camper right now while our new house is getting built. Excuse me. Got my clothes falling off. I put them into pillowcases. That kind of keeps them nice and neat and avoids them getting dirty and stuff. But that's what I'm keeping my stuff in until I can actually have places that are more appropriate than that when we get into our house. Okay. Okay, now this last one. This last one I have a little bit of guilt about because I had bought it as another one of those pre-stamped kits. But I didn't know that there was like an actual like artist or designer and, you know, copyright and things like that until after I was well over halfway done stitching it. And so before I show it to you, I'm going to tell you what it is of where you can actually get the correct version of this if you want to stitch it. Okay, it's going to, actually I'm going to tell you about that while I get it unwrapped from its pillowcase because you know how long that takes. Let's see, where did I put it in here? Oh, okay, there it is. Okay, you can buy the pattern for this with the copyright and giving the artist credit and stuff. You can get it off of Heaven and Earth Designs. The pattern is called Twilight Moon Pearls, and the artist is Melissa Dawn. So Twilight Moon Pearls by Melissa Dawn. Okay, I'm not going to tell you where I got this one that I finished because, like I said, I would rather all the credit possible go to the correct person. But this is how that turned out. It's really big, so I'm not really sure how I'm going to get it all on here in this video. Excuse my mess. But this was an 11 count. It's about 400 by 500 stitches. I'm going to try backing up and see if that might be easier. This is just really big. Could almost use this as a blanket practically. Let's see if I can at least, okay. Maybe I can do like a scroll effect for you. Now this, took me about 8 months to stitch. I was only stitching on this at the time while I was doing it, and I was going at a rate between anywhere from like 500 stitches to up to 2,000 or maybe even 2,500 stitches per day, depending on what section that I was at and what I was doing during the day. Some days I didn't stitch at all because family stuff comes up. You go and do errands and all, you know. I want to call it real life stuff, but who am I kidding? This is our real life, stitching it all. But anyhow, I wish I could show you this in all in one go, but I've only gotten so much space here in this camper. So maybe when we get moved into our house, I'll show this again so that you can see it like held up and everything. But I bought this to put into my girls' room, and so maybe the next time you see it, it'll be up on their wall in their room. They're framed and all of that. I'm going to say the pattern name and the artist again. So again, because yeah, it was Twilight Moon Pearls, and the artist is Melissa Dawn, and you can buy that from Heaven and Earth Designs. Okay. Okay, next I'm going to do this rack right there that you've probably been looking at. That yeah. Excuse the cats in the background. They're back here with me. That one there is Sunny. She's the tabby. The black one is Pewter, but we don't ever really actually call him that. We just call him Kitty. So, see him? Yeah, this is their area back here. So, yeah. Oh man. Excuse my lack of organizational skills again. But I need to show you this. Now this is something that I came up with on my own because I heard of different ways that people manage their floss, and you know, some people use the thread drops, other people use what's called the Annie's Keepers, and so I decided to kind of do a combination of those ideas into the same thing, and this is what I got. This is so fun. I think that you will love this. Now this is a smaller version of what I normally have. I would normally have 3 racks on this. Excuse me, 5 racks. This just has 3 because I'm here in the camper and I had to kind of reduce. I mean, I'd say reduce, but this is still rather big. Excuse me. Let me try to get this in a way where you can kind of actually see what I'm talking about. But, so what I have here is I've got my flosses on these rings. Now this one, excuse me, this ring here is a 3-inch ring. I just use those Clipco, I don't know if they're called book rings or binder rings, something like that, but the brand is Clipco. I just buy them off of Amazon. They usually come in a pack of anywhere from 10 to like 100 or 200, depending on what size of the rings are. These, the bigger the ring, the fewer that come in the box. My fancy flosses I put on 1-inch rings, and then they all go on a ring with the coordinating project that they're for. And then I just hang them up on there and I pull them off of there as I use them. I just, let me see, oh, here's one that I didn't. So when I go to, if I don't have that color, how would you call it, open or used or whatever your term is already, I hole punch a hole on the side like that. And then I'll cut the ends if it still has the loops on the end, because some brands, they have them all cut for you already. Other brands, they're like looped on there, so you want to cut your loops and then call it one and done. I don't do any measuring, mostly because I'm lazy, but yeah. Just call it one and done. Whenever I'm not using my fancy threads, I put them away and I store them away. My DMCs, they're going to be, okay, here we go. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I make these thread drops. I make them out of 2 pieces of cardstock. These are a little bit smaller than I'd like them to be, so the next time I go to make some more, I'm going to make them bigger. Probably more like how these tags are on the classic Colorworks. I'll probably make them closer to that size, I think. But I do 2 because 1 layer of cardstock, they're still kind of thin and they can rip easily and all of that. And so I do colored cardstock one side and then plain on the back. Now the reason for that is because sometimes I have leftover floss from kits that will actually be labeled with whatever DMC that matches it or whatever. Like this one, for example, this 677. And it will just be a single layer of cardstock and just a plain color cardstock. That way I know what came out of a kit and what's the actual DMC. Maybe they have the same thing, maybe they're not, but it's just a separate indicator for me. And all across here, these are of course in numerical order. I don't put the symbols for the pattern on my little thread drops. Some people do that. I don't, because I'm trying to, I don't know, have only one system and not have to change stuff out. But if you want to use the symbols, that will work too. But the whole point for me is, like, look how easy this is. You go in there and you can easily find what number it is that you're looking for, and then you just use your needle and pull off the 1 piece of thread or the 2 pieces of thread that you need. Now this right here, somewhat related, it's called what is this called? Some kind of towel clamp or something like that. I got them in a pack off of Amazon. It came in like a pack of 8 or something. I just clip them on here to separate types. Like over here, these were my leftover threads from the owl. I haven't made the cardstock tags yet, so they're just kind of hanging straight on the metal. These are 1/2-inch PVP pipe. And the rings that the DMC are hanging off of that I use to attach the thread tags, those are 1.5 inches to go around the 1/2-inch PVC pipe. As far as dimensions and stuff, somewhere around here, I can't tell you why. I tell you where it is because a lot of things are still in storage. I don't really know where I put it, so I don't have like measurements or anything. But I can tell you is that these here on the sides, for the height of it, these are 20 inches. You could go taller if you want your threads to hang higher off of your surface that you're putting it on, or you could go shorter if you have like shorter lengths of thread. But I went with 20 inches for these that I have on here right now. I love that thing. To me, of course I tried looking for something that does something at least even remotely like that, but I couldn't, and so eventually I just gave up and decided, you know what, I'm just going to build it out of PVC pipe. Now when we get into our house and I have it all put together again and I can put all the, because like I said, there's normally 5 racks, I guess, on it. And also on the bottom, I have a cross section, so it's got more support actually when it has all the pieces that go with it. Go figure, right? You know, you put all your pieces together and it holds together better. But, okay, stay there. But yeah, I love that thing. And I think that other people might like that idea too. I haven't done a lot of this stuff before, but I just kind of went with it and kind of sort of engineered a picture and took some measuring tape and actually kind of figured out, you know, how big do I want this thing? Is it going to fit on the surface that I intend to keep it on, and that kind of stuff. And I guess what could make it better is if I had acrylic thread drops instead of the cardstock, then I would never have to worry about them ripping or anything like that. But that's a little bit out of my budget right now. So, but that's one thing that maybe someday I'll have, and that'll make it better. And also some kind of a cover, like to keep dust out, to keep my cats out would probably be good. But maybe like some sort of a sewing machine cover, or if you're a lot better with your sewing machine than I am, you could probably make one. For now, I just put a blanket on it. But yeah. I do have a little bit of haul. I did way too much damage last week for Black Friday. Whew. Not hardly any. Actually, not hardly any. No, none of that stuff has actually arrived yet. Some of it has shipped, but it's not here yet, so you might see that next week. But for now, here's a little bit that I did. Okay. Okay. So I'm sure some of you heard that Joann's had DMC skeins for 40 cents for Black Friday. So guess where I went? Now, I got these. I left my receipt in there. I don't know why. Oh, they're so lovely. And who would have ever thought that Joann's would be as packed as it was on Friday? Like, not in the DMC section, but just like throughout the rest of the store. I was like, man, crafting is way bigger in Arkansas than it was in California. I'm going to have to watch out for some of these people, man. But let me show you what these are for. Like, I don't know if you guys ever feel weird when you're buying like a mega amount of DMCs, whether you're kitting up a whole bunch of stuff at once, which I did that at Michael's once. I think I got like 300 skeins because I was kitting up like 20 projects or something like that. I was like, let's just say I found out what the max limit of items that their registers allows. If you've ever done that, let me know down below in the comments your experience and what the employees say. The lady who was ringing me up for at Joann's, she just asked, are you getting these for like several different projects or just one? And I was like, just one big one. Let me I happen to have a picture of it on my phone. I'm going to show it to you now too. Now this pattern did just retire from Heaven and Earth Designs. I got an email over the summer that the artists that does their how would you call it, their paintings, their pictures, whatever, that artist isn't going to be on Heaven and Earth Designs anymore. I did have this pattern already, but I did go back and check and see if there was any more that I would want from them. So if you haven't signed up for the Heaven and Earth Designs newsletters already, make sure you do that so you can have that kind of information, because we do get the notices if something's not going to be available anymore. So we have a last chance opportunity to go and grab it if we want it before it's gone. But anyhow, I rambled on way too long before I showed you what this pattern was. But here we go. Those threads are for unicorn poop for sale. I think that is so cute. But this is on my list to start in 2022. So that's why I went ahead and I kitted it up now. So it'll be ready for whenever I do go to start it. I'm going to be stitching it on 18 count gridded or easy guide or magic guide or whatever it's called, Ada. And there we go. So I've got my pattern, my fabric, and my floss. Super exciting. Okay, another thing. I got these other things back in like October, but they were really cute. I left them, so I wanted to share those with you too. Okay, these are some Needleminders that I got from Kimsneedleminders on Etsy. Okay, now I'm going to show you the one that dragged me into her store in the first place. How freaking cute is that? Click, add to my cart right now. Now this is actually going to be a Christmas gift for somebody that I'm gonna, you know, you can also wear these as pins too, so they're good for other things besides just Needleminders. But this was the reason why I went into that shop, because I was looking for owl stuff, and I was like, oh my god, have to have that. Click. Etsy is dangerous, I'm telling you. So while I was there, I decided to have a look-see around and get a few things for me. Also why Etsy is dangerous. Now this is the first one that I picked out of the rest. I saw this and I had to have it. Like, could not live without it. I wish I was a unicorn so I could stab idiots with my head. Yeah. Oh, my husband was like, did you actually buy that? And I'm like, yes, I did. She also had a Sassenach one, if you're an Outlander fan, which I am, so I had to have that too. Now the other ones that I got are kind of more cutesy, but I had to have them too. First is the little Simba from Lion King. Freaking adorable. The skunk from Bambi. I always liked him. And this cute little stack of donuts. That's too cute. I had to have it, so it went into my pile of stuff to buy that day. Oh my goodness. I have not talked about the stuff that I'm working on right now yet. Whoops. Okay, let me pull that real quick. It's really short, I promise. Okay. Okay, so first, Vintage Stitcher is having a stitch along for the Farmhouse Christmas. I did not already have these patterns, but they've been, let's see, this is by Little House Needleworks. Little House Needleworks Farmhouse Christmas series. There's 9 patterns that go with this. Sorry, I'm not holding this high enough for you. And so when she said that she's going to be doing a stitch along for it, I decided, you know what? I've had those on my wish list forever. I'm going to click them into my cart and get me some floss and fabric, and we're going to go right now. So here we are. I didn't think that I was going to get to start this yet because of with the Christmas gifts and everything, but I finished the teacher gift already, so I'm a little actually ahead of schedule for the gifting stuff. So I'm doing really good on that. But I got my patterns there. I decided to go with Kimberly Jolly's Classic Colorworks thread pack for the colors on here. I'm going to hold that up for you. A couple of the colors are subbed out, so it's going to look a little bit different from how it's charted on mine, because that's what I'm using, is I'm using the thread pack on the Fat Quarter Shot. Put that away real quick. Now Vintage Stitcher is using a mushroom color fabric. I don't remember, she said she's using Lugano or if she's using Ada. And hers looked good, really good to me. So I decided to order, you know, I'm going to go order mushroom, and, you know, but I got it in and it looks, I'm kind of concerned that it might be a little too light for the white to pop up on it, at least as much as I would like it to. Let me grab that white real quick. Oh, good Lord. Organization skills again. Leave a little something to be desired. Okay, so here we go. This is Classic Colorworks Bamboo. And yeah, I was a little bit worried about whether, because the colors are a little bit more vibrant when they're all together on your skein, you know. But when you go to take them off and you only have 1 or 2 threads, it does, like, I guess, not necessarily lighten them up, but it does kind of like thin them out. I'm not saying it right, but I know you know what I mean. When you go to take it off, it doesn't quite look the same on there as it does when you're holding it up for your floss toss. I mean, do I regret buying this piece of mushroom? Yeah, right. I have like 80,000 other things that need fabric, so guess where this is going to go? It's going to go in that pile of stash to stitch up something else. I never regret buying a piece of fabric that I go, oh no, this isn't going to work out the way that I thought it was going to. Oh, darn. No, I don't feel that way. What I ended up going with is 28 count Heroic Lugana. Let's see, who is that by? I think it's by Picture This Plus. Yes, it is. It's by Picture This Plus. And this is how that's looking so far. Let me get you something behind this. Okay. So you can see that it has a tiny bit of modeling. So if you want to get this just for it doesn't look anything at all like, I mean, I'm talking about the fabric. The fabric doesn't look anything at all whatsoever like the pictures that are online of it for like example or whatever when you go to buy it. So, but that's kind of how come I think that it works, is because the modeling is so minimal. There's like little faded blues and a little bit of reds in there. But anyhow, I do think that this is working out pretty good. Like, see, I just have this small start on the border so far because I'm going to be stitching it all as one piece. That's all I've got so far. And I have that one thread hanging because that's on the second page of the outer border, and I'm not ready to get that far ahead yet, so I'm going to leave that there and get back to it. But I'm really excited to do this. So maybe I'll actually, I don't know if the goal is to finish it before December or just keep going on it until it's done. But anyhow, this will be my focus for December, is trying to keep up with the floss miss. I'm also not really sure how much I'm supposed to be checking in. But I will be making videos at least once a week, I think. Let me set that back over to the side. And then the next one that I have for whips is this one is one that's been set to the side so I could get the Christmas gifts done and stuff. This one is a stamped kit that I found on Amazon. It's called American Deer, and the picture looks like this. Now, it's not going to look like this because it only's got like 19 colors in it, not a whole bunch. So it's not going to have anything like this amount of detailing in it. I have gotten far enough along to know that's going to be the way that it is, which I'm okay with that. I don't know if I said if this was 11 count, but yes, it's 11 count. And that's what I have done so far up there in the corner. So I think it'll look fine when it's done. It's just not going to be super detailed. And yeah, that's how it's in. Now these 11 count pre-stamped, like I think I might have said before, that with super tiny things and tiny charts and tiny holes on fabric, it could be really hard for me to see, especially like here in the camper, and the lighting can, you know, maybe leave a little bit of something to be desired. So the stuff with the bigger holes in the pre-stamp, maybe it might be cheating. But it's something that's a lot.
Mom, we have a delivery.
And then, sorry, my son just popped in here. He's probably getting some Amazon packages or something. But the higher count fabrics, the pre-stamps, those make it a lot easier for me when I want to stitch on something, but the lighting is making it really hard for me to work on my regular projects. So that's what I have stuff like this for. Okay, and the last one of my whips, because I've only got 3 right now. I stitch monogamous most of the time, but sometimes I need a break from something, so I stitch on something on the side or whatever. So let me show you this last one. This last one I haven't worked on in a while because I don't really know why. I think probably because it's 1/1 on 25 count, and that is a bit hard for me to work on in here right now, here in the camper. So I'm hoping that this can get taken off a lot faster once I'm actually in a house again. Well, let's see. Let me tell you where I got this. This is a Star Wars PDF pattern, and I got this off of Etsy. And let me tell you where I got that. Where did it go? Okay. I got it from ZAnnaCrossStitch on Etsy is where I got the PDF pattern, and I printed it out. My computer's kind of a dinosaur, and so I never know if it might catch on fire and die someday, and so anything that I buy in PDF, I do make sure that I print it out so that I have a hard copy as well. And let me show you how my progress on that. Like I said, I have not been able to work on this since we moved here, but I do actually plan on finishing it someday. This is 2 pages done, and I believe the whole thing is 50 pages. But this is 1/1 on 25 count Lugana with these what you call it, easy grid. But it looks really good. Yes, there is some mistakes, though I'm not going to tell you what they are because I don't even remember what they are myself. I just remember that I made them and then just moved on with my life. Okay, I think I finally went through everything. I can't believe that was an hour. Wow. Like I said before, I hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving. And here we are going into the Christmas season. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. If you have questions, maybe if you have concerns. Hopefully not. But I'll be back next week with another video. All right, thank you. Bye-bye.